Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, if you wear the hat, expect the flat. Of course, I am bringing you the issue of this past, I guess more than a week ago, of this situation. This issue here is a small shot of a confrontation that went viral. Now, before I get into this, I need to explain what the Angelic Troublemakers is all about. It is my personal belief that social change can happen without all of the demonstrations in public, vandalism, rioting, overturning of police cars, graffiti that have been associated with protests. Well, a week ago, a protest that was in the nation's capital began when, got out of control, and it basically got out of control, I say, due to a misunderstanding, but I claim, and a lot of people agree with me, that the misunderstanding was started or could be blamed on the MAGA hats. MAGA, Make America Great Again. These hats that President Donald Trump used in his campaign to become president of the United States have a racist symbol attached to them. When you listen to the rhetoric of Donald Trump, and I've read reports where Donald Trump's father was actually in the hooded KKK. This article by a actress points that out. I didn't know it. But Alyssa Milano and I share something in common. It is strange, it really is. This article she wrote in defense of the flack that she got when she sent out a tweet. Her tweet was, "The red hat is the new white hood in America today." And she was getting flack from both sides. Liberals were saying one thing, I don't know what they were saying. But the conservatives on the other side, they were criticizing her, basically saying that, defending the fact that the MAGA hats, the Make America Great Again, are not associated with the white hoods of the 30s and 20s, 30s years ago. Well, it is very coincidental, but I was arguing with somebody also on Twitter, earlier in the day, and I made the exact same point. Now, I do not know who Alyssa Milano is. Never heard of the name. I know she's an actress, but I'm not one who watches movies, so, I don't watch many, and believe me, if Tom Cruise came in the room, I probably wouldn't know who he was. My point, though, is that this hat symbolizes a certain attitude. And when I see that this group came together in Washington, D.C. They were at the Lincoln Memorial. It's, I guess, a place to protest. Well, I say protests are passe. Now, I know people are going to think, well, what do you mean protests are passe? They're very much needed, and they're effective. Well, this situation got out of hand, and it was best as I can describe it based on everything that I heard was there was a group of Catholic students went to Washington, D.C. for a March for Life rally. They were basically doing their best to stand up, for what they believe or what they were brainwashed to believe on the aspect of being against abortion. When I say that, I must clarify. I am against abortion. But what does that mean for me? It only means if a woman asks me for my opinion on whether she should have a baby or not, regardless of the circumstances. Well, life of the mother, I understand. I would say have the child. And so when I say that I'm against abortion, please don't put me in the crowd of nutcakes who are just saying this, and the moment they make a mistake, they want to run for an abortion. But anyway, the Right to Life group was chaperoned by some adults, and these kids just so happened to be donning caps, red caps. Well, there was another smaller group, maybe 5, black Israelites. I guess they were called the Israelites, black Israelis, or Israel, man, I don't know what it is called. Hebrew Israelites or Hebrew black Israelites. Sorry, never heard of them. And so this group was in Washington, D.C., and they spotted these kids in these red hats. Well, if you see a black person and they see somebody in the red hat, right there, you're going to, it says confrontation all over it. That's why the Angelic Troublemakers is against all public protests. And so when you have these two individuals, two groups coming together, there's going to be a possibility, high possibility, of some problems. Well, I think that the adults, meaning the black Israelites, started hurling insults at these teenagers, and it threw them off. They didn't know how to handle it. They were being called some ridiculous names. Children of incest. And that's the only one that I remember, but there was a lot of others. I didn't hear any of that. But I do know that there was a situation where, let me find him, this man, his name is Nathan Phillips on the left. He saw the dispute between the teenage kids. The white kid on the right is 16. He saw the dispute and he decided to get in the middle of it, and he was beating his drum and chanting. And so he was trying to bring peace or deflect from what he saw as a possible problem between the black Israelites and these white Covington Catholic schoolers. So the issue was this was bound to be a problem. I do not believe this white teenager really knew what he got into by putting on that hat. I am going to go to a video, and I'm not going to do the whole video, but it's going to show something, and I might stop it because I don't know. There's some issues here that I need to talk about. This is a video of the incident. Excuse me, of the interview that the kid gave. And Savannah Guthrie is the interviewer. And
you owe anybody an apology? Do you see your own fault?
Now, that was the first thing that came from this journalist. Well, I don't think that I would have asked that question. Do you think that you owe them an apology? First of all, this kid, if you listen to him, and the volume on this might not be too good, notice how scared he is.
In any way?
As far as standing there, I had every right to do so. My position is that I was not disrespectful to Mr. Phillips. I respect him. I'd like to talk to him. I mean, in hindsight, I wish we could have walked away and avoided the whole thing. But I can't say that I'm sorry for listening to him and standing there.
This morning, 16-year-old Nick Sandman standing by his actions in this moment gone viral. The junior at Kentucky's Covington Catholic High School, now the face of this Lincoln Memorial confrontation with Native American elder Nathan Phillips.
And what's it been like to be at the center of the storm?
Well, it's weird to see your face on television. I've been reading a lot. And, you know, I've also been getting a lot of messages from people, both support and a lot of hateful things.
Sandman and dozens of his classmates had just finished attending an anti-abortion March for Life rally when they converged with 5 Hebrew Israelites, a radical movement that is growing.
Oh, I didn't know there were so many. See, this photo right here, that's a potential problem. You have all these kids, and I thought there was just 5 black Israelites.
More militant, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
They started shouting a bunch of, you know, homophobic, racist, derogatory comments at us.
What kinds of things did you hear them say?
I heard them call us incest kids, bigots, racists. They called us
a bunch of incest babies, a bunch of child molesting.
Did you feel threatened at all?
I definitely felt threatened.
There were more of you than them, but you felt like they were stronger?
They were a group of adults, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen next.
It's unclear from the videos who actually started the confrontation. Each side believes it was the first to be taunted. Sandman says his chaperone gave students permission to shout school chants, an attempt, he says, to drown out the Hebrew Israelites.
Do you think it was a good idea to start chanting back at the protesters?
In hindsight, I wish we had just found another spot to wait for our buses, but at the time, being positive seemed better than letting them slander us with all of these things. So I wish we could have walked away.
Did anyone shout any insults back or any racial slurs back at the group?
We're a Catholic school, and it's not tolerated. They don't tolerate racism.
Well, now see, I'm going to stop it there. But Notice he said that this is a Catholic school and we do not tolerate racism. Well, you may not tolerate racism, but you put on a racist symbol on top of your head. That's the issue. And so I can imagine that was what the black Israelites got them off. It makes no sense to me that a bunch of 16-year-old white boys are going to look at black adults and just start hurling insults when they're from a Catholic school. Now, if they were from some KKK group, I can imagine them, you know, hurling insults. But no, these were dumb kids on a dumb mission to protest a woman's right, if you will. Let me tell you something. In this, I think there's like an hour and 45 minutes worth of total footage of this whole issue. These kids, in one of the videos, clippings, were doing catcalls to women who walked by. Well, now, if you're so supportive of the unborn child, what are you doing whistling at young women, showing them utmost disrespect? One video this showed, and I heard it with my own ears, one kid, and oh, I seen his lips move, I know which kid did it, said, "It's not rape if you enjoy it." Now, is that a statement coming from kids who are protesting against abortions? These kids were so stupid, and their chaperone was even stupider. How are you going to get a bunch of 16-year-old, hyped up, probably testosterone, don't know anything about, probably half of them didn't even know how babies were born. And yet, you're going to have them hurling stupid statements like that? These are your representatives? Is that what you should have taught them not to say that before they even got on the plane or the bus or however they got to Washington, D.C. But no, people looking to further their cause, get a bunch of young people, let's go to Washington, D.C., and we're going to just pound the desk against Roe v. Wade, because it was also one of the anniversaries last week, 50th or whatever it was. We're going to pound the nest and demand that this country stop paying for abortion, making abortions illegal. Well, if you're going to get teenagers to do all of that stuff, or do your dirty work, meaning be in a crowd like this, shouldn't you at least have a bunch of kids who have respect for women doing that? You can't convince me that you respect an unborn child if you don't respect the woman that the child comes from. And for that, there's an awful lot of blame to go around, but I am not blaming these kids. I'm blaming the adults who brought them up to D.C. And there's another photo. This same school, years before, 6 years, they had some of the white kids in blackface. Well, you get no sympathy from me when you want to don blackface for whatever dumb reason you think it's funny. But the fact of the matter is I'm not blaming these present kids for that. I'm saying that there's a culture in this Catholic school that condones stupid stuff from kids. And I definitely, I'm not with that. I know that this particular young man, I think he's going to be all right. But he got a solid lesson in life. And that solid lesson that he will learn from this situation is, if I'm going to go to a protest, I surely am going to be better prepared. Because putting on the cap, in this interview, he says that he bought his cap that morning. So for him to put on this cap and start doing his whatever, he's learning the hard way. And he will be a part of forever. If you wear the hat, expect the flag. Now, let me go back to Alyssa Milano, because she did something that I thought was pretty good. If I can find her on my screen here. Hold on, people. Uh-oh. This article where she is got her act together. She is defending her belief that this hat represents white hoods. But what she did that I love is the fact that she wrote of 8 different incidents where the hat was present when some mess broke out. Now I'm going to try my best to not mess this up. But one of these, I'm going to read the top one here and see how far I get. When the Unite the Right chanted, "Jews will not replace us," the red hat was there. And then there's a link, and it shows in the center here the red hat. Then she said, when Muslims were banned from coming to live in this country. Clicking on the link to the article, you see these white men donning the red "Make America Great Again" hat. And I just love this whole thing, because when there was a White Lives Matter rally, ooh, White Lives Matter, there's that hat again. And she went on to say, after getting her point across, how she wasn't apologizing for what she said about the white hat. She was apologizing for the white hat. And I like that. Because if you're going to make a statement and you're going to get some flack for it, you should be willing to take that stand and say, wait a minute, where do we stand here? And I'm saying she did the right thing. And I'm definitely supportive of her. And wherever I see something on Twitter related to the subject of that hat, my hashtag, if you wear the hat, expect the flack, will be there. Because what's going to be happening is people are going to be trying to defend their right to wear a stupid hat when they refuse to accept the fact that it's causing problems. And my warning to anyone who thinks, well, I can wear anything I want to wear, I can do whatever I want to do. If you wear the hat, expect the flack. And in this situation, these kids, they didn't know what that hat represented. Because if they did, why is it that a group of kids, I mean 16 years old, why would a group of kids be celebrating the unborn child when the President of the United States was making fun of his treatment of women, including grabbing them in the crotch, though he didn't use that word? Why would these kids who are Catholic be so, oh, we're standing up for kids? People, if you're going to use young people, use their muscles, don't use their brains. Because I'm telling you, they have an awful lot more muscles than they do brains. And I'm telling you, I could go further and say what I really think about these kids, but there is a scripture that applies. And it's Proverbs, I think, 22:15. And it is foolishness is in the bosoms of youth, children. It does go on to say, and the rod of correction will drive her far out, but we won't go there because some will see that one way and some will see it another way. Some just can't handle it. It's not saying beat kids, but when you really look at it, it's a confession. Silliness is in young people. And if a Catholic school knows this, and then they're going to send young people out, don't expect the message to come back all proper. Now, there's a dispute on why this thing ended up where the kids' school was closed down. Sorry, I was looking for something. But death threats. Now, nobody was going to get killed over this, in my opinion. But the potential is there. And that's why I'm against street protests. Yes, even in the nation's capital, I'm against it because nothing good comes from them now. Way back in the 50s and 60s, yes, they did do some good. But nothing good is coming from them today. That's my personal opinion. If there's one good thing, yeah, it's not worth all of the bad things that could be happening. So until next time, I say, if you wear the hat, expect the flag.